In a quiet suburb of Kentucky, an unassuming man named William Harris leaned over his loft, gently feeding a sleek gray pigeon. You'd never guess that the bird nestled in his hand was worth more than most people's homes. William wasn't just any bird enthusiast. He was part of an elite global circle that dealt in high-stakes racing pigeons, birds bred not just for beauty, but for performance, stamina, and bloodline. He wasn't alone in his passion either. Across the U.S., Belgium, China, the Netherlands, and Germany, the world of competitive pigeon racing had grown into a multi-million-dollar industry. These weren't average birds. They were champions, legends, and living investments that soared through the skies carrying dreams, history, and massive price tags. It all started years ago when William stumbled upon an online auction for a Belgian racing pigeon named Bolt. The bird was named after Olympic sprinter Usain Bolt and had made headlines for his incredible speed in competitions. But what really caught William's attention wasn't just the bird's legacy, it was the final price tag. The winning bid came in at a jaw-dropping $310,000. That moment stuck with William. He began to research, to study bloodlines, to watch races across Europe streamed in real time. Before long, he wasn't just an observer. He became a competitor. William's first major purchase came in the form of a pigeon known as Thunderblaze, renamed from his original Dutch name. This bird had won several mid-distance races across Illinois and the Midwest and carried the genetics of multiple champions from overseas. William paid close to $180,000 for Thunderblaze, a deal that raised eyebrows even among seasoned breeders. But William had done his homework. Thunderblaze wasn't just fast, he was a breeder of winners. Within 2 years, the offspring of Thunderblaze began sweeping local competitions, and William's reputation started to grow. As his name climbed through the American pigeon racing community, William found himself invited to international events and online auctions with staggering stakes. It was there that he began compiling what would become his personal list of the top 20 most expensive racing pigeons in the world, each one with a story, a price tag, and a legacy that echoed through the sport like folklore. The first pigeon on William's list was Silver Jet, a bird from Germany sold for $210,000. She had earned her place by consistently placing in top 5 finishes across Europe, with particular dominance in long-distance events. Then came Lightning Bolt, not to be confused with Bolt himself, which went for $250,000. William remembered watching the bidding war live, the numbers climbing faster than he could believe, all for a pigeon with fewer than 5 wins, but an impeccable bloodline. Then there was Blizzard, the American rebrand of Belgium's Euro Diamond, whose price soared to over $310,000. The bird's performance history was immaculate. William could still recall watching a documentary where Blizzard crossed a grueling 500-kilometer race with winds pushing against him, yet still came out on top. One of William's favorites was Scarlet, originally known as Nadine in Europe. She was a foundation hen whose children consistently brought back trophies. Scarlet sold for $400,000, but her real value, William believed, was incalculable because of her ability to pass on winning traits. In William's own loft, his top breeders descended from a line similar to Scarlet's, and their performance reflected that elite heritage. By now, William wasn't just a buyer. He had become a broker, matching elite breeders with interested buyers from the U.S. to Singapore. His international connections helped him witness firsthand the sale of Sky Commander, a Dutch champion with 27 top 3 finishes, who fetched $450,000 at a private auction in New York City. The bird was flown to an air-conditioned loft in Beverly Hills, owned by a tech millionaire who had recently taken an interest in pigeon racing. Liberty Bell, a white and silver hen bred in the U.S., had made a splash in the South African million-dollar pigeon race, placing second against birds from 35 countries. She was bought for $500,000, making her the most expensive American-bred pigeon sold that year. Her price marked a shift in global attention, showing that American racers could compete at the same level as European champions. Victory Lane, originally known as Little 500 in South Africa, went for just over $500,000 as well, creating a new benchmark for international buyers. His success in coastal endurance flights made him one of the most prized racers of his generation. There were others: Lady Stardust, the Patriot, Falcon Whisper, and Steelheart, each with stories that included bitter rivalries, miraculous finishes, and dramatic auctions where prices doubled in minutes. But none of them compared to the final 5 on William's list. The 5th most expensive racing pigeon in the world was New Harry. This bird came from a lineage that had consistently broken records. In a landmark sale in 2020, New Harry sold for $870,000 to a Chinese investor who had been building what many considered the greatest private pigeon collection in the world. New Harry's children went on to command their own 6-figure prices, further cementing the bird's legacy. The 4th most expensive was Golden Prince. He was bred in Belgium, but became a symbol of Asian-European pigeon partnerships when he was sold for $1.45 million. William met the buyer in person once at an auction in Hong Kong, a quiet businessman who rarely spoke but whose bidding hand never shook. Then came Armando, widely known as the first pigeon to sell for more than $1 million. Sold in 2019 for $1.42 million, Armando became a global sensation. News stations from CNN to BBC covered the sale. William recalled his own disbelief. He wasn't even in the race to bid, but he watched it happen live, breathless, as the bids climbed to dizzying heights. But even Armando would be surpassed. In a shocking 2021 auction, Magic Pearl, a hen with unmatched speed and breeding record, sold for a staggering $1.6 million. She had never lost a final in her racing prime. Her buyer, an American business tycoon from Chicago, chose to remain anonymous, but released a single statement: "For a bird like her, the sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning." And finally, the most expensive racing pigeon ever sold in the world was Blue Storm. Sold in late 2023 for an unbelievable $2 million, Blue Storm was a perfect blend of speed, genetics, and mystique. No one had seen him lose a race in over 2 years. His sale shocked the community not just for the price, but because he was barely 2 years old and still at the peak of his racing career. For William, these sales weren't just headlines. They were milestones and a passion that had consumed decades of his life. He remembered starting with just 2 birds in his backyard loft, barely making rent some months, because he had spent a little too much on feed and vitamins. But it all felt worth it now. His own prized racer, American Dream, had recently been valued at over $600,000. Offers came in from Dubai, London, and Seoul.